Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to your day and looking forward to chatting with you this morning as our podcast begins here. So let's say hello to a few folks as they come on. Here we go. Mike from Norland. Numero uno, Brahim, Portland, Oregon. Jeanette from our staff. Good morning. Mary from Norwich. Andrea. Niagara Falls. Lori, Niagara Falls. You know I love Niagara Falls, right? I love you guys. Excuse me. Nativity, John. Nick from our staff. See, I miss as that goes up into my friend. How are you? Orangeville, Wendy. Chantal, Ottawa. Good morning. Anne, St. Catharines. Suzanne, good morning. Norma. And Marilyn. Kelowna. Olive. Oregon. Sue, good morning. Manitoul and Guylaine. Bonjour, Diane, Thunder Bay. And Marnie. Good morning, Marnie. How are you? Sue, Bolton. Donna from Bell Valley. Good morning. Nellie. And Catherine, Parksville, British Columbia. Debbie, Sturgeon, Falls. Glorious. San Antonio, Texas. Suzanne, Edmonton. Mara, and Marl is from Ottawa. Sandy, Washington State. And Andrea, Nouveau-Brunswick. Jody, Sudbury, never heard of it. Adeline, Stephanie, and who was it? Stephanie from Georgia. Beverly, Vera, and Donna. John, how are you? And Donna, good morning. Karen from Otter Lake. Jane from Tirana. And you see, I missed one there from Nouveau-Brunswick. Dave, they get up into, anyway, I have a hard time explaining it to you. Brenda, two Brendas in a row. And Georgie, good morning. Ruth Ann, nice to have you on. Regina. I didn't see Kevin. Have you guys? Barbara, Bonnie, and, Kevin, Gertie. These are people that come on, and I don't see them anymore. I don't know why. Kristen, Catherine, Newfoundland. Okay, there's Kevin. See, Kev? You got to post yourself twice. Why? I have no idea. Okay? Jean, Peterborough. I'm just assuming, Kevin, that you're on with me. Alicia. And Sandra. Sue, good morning. Okay, guys, let's, Kristen, Nova Scotia. And Fran, how are you? Mary, PEI. Guys, coast to coast. At Barbara from Atlanta. Guys, coast to coast. And, I know you're looking at my background and you see it's backwards, right? But that's the way it is. But the doctor is in podcast. Tracy, good morning. Okay. Now, I want to comment this morning on a new article. So it wasn't so much a study. I guess there was a study in the background, but I read it as an article. I found it pretty fascinating on autism. And the statistics for autism are frightening, to say the least, guys. Frightening. And the article is entitled "The Cost for Caring for These Kids." The cost. Okay? And what the article is pointing out, of course, is it starts off by saying this, there's been 178% increase in autism since the year 2000. And the new statistics, okay? The new statistics is 1 out of every 22 kids born today in North America are autistic. And you guys have heard me talk about autism in the past, and I'll probably talk about it in the future. When I was in school, I'm not saying there was never a case, but I got to tell you, in the 1970s, I didn't even hear of autism. It wasn't in our medical books. And as far as I know, nobody ever talked about it. It wasn't until, I'm going to say it was 1978, maybe 79, a colleague of mine, I was at a meeting, a board meeting in Toronto, and he was telling me he had 2 autistic kids, and I'm going, well, tell me all about it. I don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean your 2 kids are autistic? And then he proceeded to tell me and educate me on autism. Honestly, had never heard of it. And I'm a reader, guys. I've always studied. I've always looked into stuff and reading journals. And, in those days it was journals. There was no, there was no social media. So you couldn't, you had to look up stuff in medical journals. And, I remember reading the Journal of Clinical Nutrition in the 70s. Okay. So I was a journal reader. And, unfortunately today, doctors usually are so busy that they're not reading their journals, and they can get them online. And it's too bad, because there's some good articles in here, including this one on autism. And it's the coming tsunami of autism and the cost of autism. So let me give you what this article said, and then we'll pontificate a little this morning. Because I think it's the world that we live in. And let me double down on that. Now, okay, so they're talking about cost for caring for kids. If you have, or someone has a mild autistic child, $35,000 a year. These is US dollars. $35,000 a year for a mildly autistic child. $65,000 a year. And I guess that's for, they didn't break it down so much, but, special education, care, and homes, perhaps, if they're severely autistic. But moderately autistic, $65,000 a year, and $135,000 a year for the ones that are severely affected. And all the tea in China. I talk about this a lot, right? I talk about the cost of metabolic syndrome. Because if you look at insulin, and you look at insulin resistance, and then you look at what the cost is to our society, when you look at metabolic syndrome, that can lead to heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and I put into that category autoimmune disease. You take those 5, okay, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and autoimmune, you look at the cost of these disorders to our society, and we're going to be broke, my friend. You couldn't print enough money to take care of that. And I've been saying that for a long, long time. Because we have our focus, I say it's misguided. We have our focus on the climate. I mean, you listen to any politician, and they're always talking about the climate. And when they talk about health care, they talk about disease care. They never talk about prevention. And a case study, and I hope they really do study our response to a virus, a pandemic. We ought to study it. Okay, what did we do right? And what did we do wrong? Well, again, because I think the powers to be in the background, big pharmaceutical, what happened? Nobody talked about prevention. Well, they did in a sense that stay home, 6 feet apart, wear your mask, and, nobody talked about your immune system. Let's get everybody's immune system built up. And that's why I was talking to you all through the crisis of the importance of your immune system. Okay? But here we are today. We have these chronic diseases. We're not winning the war on any of them. It's because we're really looking for love in all the wrong places. We're not talking about prevention of these disorders. We're waiting till someone gets cancer, which is up big time. Heart disease, up big time. Every day, every day, every day. The numbers go up and up and up and up. And it's like, pounding our head against the wall. Nothing's changing. Nothing. And it's amazing because if you listen to the powers to be, well, we are spending a fortune looking for a medication to fight cancer. Guys, the answer's in front of us. Okay? The answer's in front of us. And it really, we don't even realize it. It's collapsing our economy. It's creating an enormous amount of inflation because we are just printing money. And today, like in our country, it's disease care. It's not health care. And here we are with autism. And Google it. And you're never going to read about the cause of autism. Okay? You'll never read about it. It's genetic. They don't know why, but they put it under the classification of a genetic disorder. Well, I'm telling you guys, it can't be. I'm a guy, here's how I think, okay? We have, what does it say in the article? 178% increase in a disorder, autism. It's gone up almost 200% since the year 2000. It wasn't there in the 70s. rarely in the 80s. Now it's climbing. It's going like this on a trajectory, completely like a rocket taking off. And my question is, here's what I do in my mind, okay? Why? Genetics have changed? No. What's changed? So that's me. I go, what has changed? Why are these kids canaries in the coal mine? Listen, I had to answer. I had a radio show for many, many years. I had to answer that question. I got asked that question, frequently on my radio program. I want to answer it today because I think I'm right. Nobody's listening to me except you guys, okay? No, but I make a case, okay? I make a case. What's happened? Why is these kids the canaries in the coal mine? Okay? I've done it to you. Think about it. When we talk about heart disease, why are we not winning the war? We stopped smoking. Okay? And I bring you back. I give you a history lesson. Because in medical terms, I'm a historian. Okay? So, we're lowering cholesterol, heart disease. We've lowered cholesterol, and heart disease got worse. We stopped smoking, really, comparatively, right? People got the memo, and heart disease got worse. Now, I'm glad people stopped smoking. But I've been telling you this for years and years and years and years. I've been saying it since the 1970s. The cholesterol theory is a hoax. The cholesterol theory for heart disease is a hoax. Why do I say it? Because heart disease has got worse. As people lowered their cholesterol, as people stopped eating cholesterol, heart disease got worse. It didn't get better, it got worse. Okay? What have I been saying about cancer? Why is cancer worse than it ever was? We got the memo on smoking. And you know what? It actually helped a bit. In the 80s, when people stopped, getting the memo about smoking, cancer rates went down a little wee bit, and now they're way back up again. They're right up through the ceiling, and they continue to climb. Why is that? Well, cancer, people ask me this. Every day I have to talk to people about cancer. Every day. Okay? And they go, Doc, why? And I said, well, listen, cancer's complicated. Okay? It's a complicated disease. It is. But here's what I know. Cancer cells need fuel. Okay? It's complicated, but cancer cells need fuel. Otto Warburg said it in the 1930s. What did he say? Won a Nobel Prize. He called cancer cells ravenous. They need oxygen and they need fuel. They're teenagers. They need sugar. Honey, cancer cells need sugar. And yesterday I saw it on the private Facebook group, okay? I guess they went to their doctor. I don't know, I can't remember now if they said they had breast cancer or they were worried about breast cancer, and their doctor says, you better lay off red meat. And guys, I hate to tell you, that's bad advice. Because cancer cells, they're not looking for red meat. Believe me, they cannot feed on red meat. They hate it. Cancer hates steak and bacon. It hates it because it can't feed on it. There's no fuel for it. Now, guys, I know that sounds simplistic, but that's the facts. And I always bring to you evidence. And the evidence is when you do a PET scan, a cancer scan, they got to give you sugar. Otherwise, it doesn't work. The scan doesn't work without glucose. Hello? Okay? Hello? But, oh no, it's red meat. They hate red meat. They hate the farmer. And then they bring climate into it. The new religion. And what do they say? Well, you know what? We're really going to have to, the farmers are going to have to stop. Somebody actually said it. We're going to have to stop the farmers going to have to stop growing food to save our planet. They actually said it. Guys, that gives me a migraine. It's stupidity. It's stupidity on steroids. But they love it. The elite, they love it. Don't worry, they'll be eating steak. You think Bill Gates and his friends are going to be eating meatless burgers? Do you think they're going to do it? No. They're going to fly around on their private jets while the rest of us, okay? The rest of us are, they don't even, at the end of the day, can I just say it? They don't even want you to buy an electric car. They say so, but you can't afford it. And if you live in Northern Ontario, well, good luck with that when it's 40 below. Your car is going to go down the block and stop. But you see, the elites, they don't care because it's not going to affect them. They're going to fly around in their private jets and they will be eating steak, okay? That I guarantee. Anyways, I just get a little excited and I get off cue. But it's because I can't stand it. I can't stand it. So, cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, in 2005, was declared to be type 3 diabetes. And then it was almost like, we better cover that up. Because you didn't have to go far from type 3 diabetes to talk about eliminating sugars and crappy carbohydrates. Do you think they were going to let that stand? The powers to be? The big pharma? The big food? Do you think they were going to let that stand? And you know what? If you go door to door, okay? You know how I like to tell you to do this. Go door to door, do a survey, 20 doors. And ask them, what is the cause of Alzheimer's? I guarantee it. I guarantee it. You're either going to get, I don't know. Okay? I don't know. Or it's plaque in the brain. The amyloid plaque. And they might not even remember the word. And guys, 2005, diabetes of the brain, Alzheimer's. They hid it. They hid it. And then they educate the public to, they continuously send propaganda down the stream. And if you talk about some simplicity like food, eliminating sugar, for example, they'll call you a quack. They'll call me a quack. I take it as a badge of honor. Seriously, guys, I'm not trying to win the approval of the mainstream medicine. I'm not. Dr. Martin, he's a quack. Quack, 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 quack. I saw a duck this morning. No, but guys, I'm a simple person. If you give me information and I look at a disease like autism that never existed really, if it was there, it was never diagnosed, and we'd all agree, mainstream medicine even agrees, that it's out of control today. It's it was 1 in 10,000 kids. It's 1 in 22. Why? Why? That's what I ask. What's happened? Well, we live in a different world. And here's what I've always said, because I saw a lot of autistic kids in my office. Parents bringing their child in. And what I did, well, I'm clinical nutrition. Clinical, meaning that I did testing. And all of them had a common denominator. All of them. I never saw an exception to this. This is why, when I say why, I've got some pretty good theories. Here's one thing I never saw an exception to. In an autistic child, they all had leaky gut. All of them. No exceptions. Now, what's happening in the United States politics, okay? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., okay, is running to be the president of the United States. I find that interesting. I don't know about you guys. I do. When I was a kid, what was it, 1962? That 62 or 63. When did John Kennedy get assassinated? That, I'm telling you, I remember that day like it was yesterday. As a kid. And my dad, who was a political machine, he loved John Kennedy. Cried like a baby when he was assassinated, even as a Canadian. It was traumatic. And then Robert Kennedy getting assassinated too. And now his son is running to be the president of the United States for the Democratic Party. I find it interesting. But here's Robert Kennedy. He's been an advocate. And he says, okay, with all the research team that he has, I've listened to him. He says it's the amount of vaccines given to kids. Now, when I was a kid, okay, just going to tell you, 2 vaccines in the 1950s. There was 2 of them given to kids, okay? And today it's, before the age of 2? 72 on average. That's what he's saying. Okay, guys? That's what he's saying. Robert Kennedy Jr. And he's a pretty impressive guy. He is. Very smart. But here's what I say. Okay? And I'm not saying those vaccines, I always said those are the straw that broke the camel's back. To me, it's not that. You got to go a step backwards, even before that. These kids have leaky gut, and some of them right in the placenta. That has been my research. And guys, I'm not a research per se. I was a clinical guy, meaning that I had real people coming into my office, and after years and years and years of looking at things, I came to some conclusions. Okay? And when I looked at any disorder, especially if it was going like this, I mean, climbing like a rocket ship in terms of numbers, here's what my findings showed. These kids were, number one, canaries in the coal mine. Their systems were fragile. They all had leaky gut. And you see, for me, okay, let me just explain that in a way, because I'm bringing you some background. When I saw leaky gut, I listen, you didn't come to see me. I don't care, even if it was a child. It took you a half an hour to fill out a questionnaire. We used to tell our patients, you get here at least a half an hour before your appointment. Why? Because you are going to fill out a questionnaire. It's going to be very, very, I think I have a copy of it. Yeah, I took it out because I wanted to talk about that. This is our questionnaire from the Martin Clinic. I'm just going to show it to you. It's one, okay, hormonal questionnaire for men, hormonal questionnaire for women, adrenal questionnaire, B12 questionnaire, thyroid questionnaire, insulin questionnaire. I had questions. And you did not get in to see me, leaky gut questionnaire. Okay? You didn't get to see me unless you filled out the questionnaire. There was no exceptions to that. So parents that were bringing in an autistic child filled out a questionnaire. Here's what I found. All of them had leaky gut. So to me, that was the cause. And what causes leaky gut? Okay? I believe these canary in the coal mine, these kids, antibiotics, mummy. Okay? Antibiotics can save your life. But I've said this for the last 40 years. More. Antibiotics, the greatest discovery of the 20th century, is the curse of the 21st. That is a statement that I made in the 1980s. I said antibiotics, they're wonderful, but there's baggage along with them. There's side effects to taking an antibiotic. It will destroy your microbiome in 5 days. And you got to understand, in the 1980s, people didn't even know what microbiome was. They didn't even know what? What are you talking about? I said, well, leaky gut. Hippocrates said it. The father of medicine, 2,000 years ago. You know what he said? All disease starts in the gut. He wasn't far off. I'm not saying all disease starts in the gut, but just about. And for me, you took an autistic child. Okay? And mommy was on antibiotics, or even a child. in their first 2 years of life, they got an ear infection. It's usually viral. It's not bacterial. And they're given antibiotics. Even today, they're given out like candy. And they could be the canary in the coal mine. Whatever disrupts the microbiome, my friend, the environment, way too much estrogen, xenoestrogens. These kids can be the canaries in the coal mine, but I'm telling you, it starts in the gut. And then they get the invasive, leaky gut, leaky brain. They get an invasive species of fungus, of candida, that it can carry heavy metal. Yeast is a carrier. Fungus is a carrier inside the body. It don't belong in your bloodstream, not even a bit. But these kids, they get a fungal infection. And nobody's looking for it. And they're the canaries that goes across the blood-brain barrier. It invades the brain. I've said this for a mountain of years. And today we got 1 out of 22. Guys, that's me. I asked the question, why? And yeast gets fed. Just like in cancer, yeast gets fed. It only survives on sugar. And when they developed high fructose corn syrup in the late 70s and 80s, Coke and Pepsi switched their sugars to the detriment of our population. And yeast gets fed fructose made in a lab. And then you have these oils made in a lab. Because everybody thinks, man, we're smarter than God. So let's change the sugar. Okay? Let's change the flour. Let's change the oil. I mean, even McDonald's changed their oil. They used to use, lard? And then the food police told them, you're going to give people cholesterol. You better change your oil. And they did. And if you eat a McDonald's French fry, or anybody's, okay, you're in doo-doo. They use the wrong oils. And these kids are the canaries in the coal mine. Okay? I read that article and I find it horrendously sad. They won't listen to me. Okay? The powers to be are never going to listen to me. I'm not optimistic about change. So what do I aim at? I aim at you guys. I want to give you information. I want you to think. I want you to be someone that, you know what, you're not going to fool me. You're not going to dupe me. Okay? And then I get it all the time on the site, okay? On the Martin Clinic private Facebook group. I love that group so much, you have no idea. Okay? But, one of them, every day I get, somebody puts on there, I'm confused. Because they're confused. People are telling them, eat in moderation and don't eat red meat. Dr. Martin's a quack because he's telling you to eat eggs, meat, and cheese. I'm used to it, guys. I'm used to it. Okay. Okay, I had to breathe there. I hadn't breathed in about 30 minutes. Okay, guys, I want you to send your questions in for Question and Answer Friday, okay, because we really have a good time. Enjoyed that thoroughly. And if you're not a member of the private Facebook group, I just can't understand why you wouldn't want to be, okay? You do. We got some great people there. What a community, okay? And have I told you lately that I love you? I think that was a song, right? I can sing it. Okay, but I do, and I mean it. Guys, talk to you soon.